packet hit our array at 0312 ship time, and I almost filed it as interference. That is what I want you to understand before anything else. The Meridian Clause was running dark through Transit Corridor V7, a passage that, strictly speaking, survey frigates were not cleared to use, and which Captain Rennick had decided we would use anyway, because the alternative added 19 days to our return leg. And he had a standing bet, the dockmaster at Harith Station, about arrival time. So we were running quiet, low-emission profile, no beacon of our own, and when the compressed packet lit up on the legacy subband monitoring array, my first thought was scatter. Solar bounce off the amber giant we'd been threading for the past 8 hours. Our array picked up a lot of scatter near K-class stars. My second thought, 11 seconds later when the decode finished, was that it was not scatter. The Kethara emergency subband is not a frequency human vessels are supposed to monitor. It is not a frequency human vessels have any particular reason to know exists. The reason the Meridian Clause knew it existed was that 3 years prior, during a trade survey through compact frontier space, our comms array had been updated with a full-spectrum reference pulled from a Kethara Port Authority terminal, a routine data exchange that nobody flagged as significant, and which had simply sat in the array's legacy database ever since, doing nothing, waiting. Waiting, as it turned out, 0312 on a Tuesday, in an empty transit corridor where we were not supposed to be. I ran the decode twice. The packet was a compressed Kethara distress format, their equivalent of a Mayday, tight beam, aimed on a bearing of approximately 047 relative. The compact's own rescue relay sat at 061 relative. The 14-degree deviation was almost certainly a burn error, the kind of thing that happens when your transmitter housing is damaged before you fire and the beam walks off true mid-compression. Someone had tried to call for help and had missed their own relay by 14 degrees. What they had hit instead, by an accident of geometry and a 3-year-old database entry and Captain Rennick's unauthorized shortcut, was us. I called the bridge. Rennick listened to my decode summary without interrupting, which meant he was already doing the math. When I finished, he was quiet for 4 seconds, counted, bearing to source. 319, sir, roughly 0.6 light minutes. Another pause. What are we carrying? 2 medics, full emergency kit, fabricator bay with standard material load, point defense gun and a rack of survey drones, no rescue certification, no treaty authorization for compact space. I had already pulled the manifest because I knew he would ask. Also not supposed to be in this corridor. No, Rennick said, we are not. A breath. 319, increase to full survey speed. Tell nobody we're coming because we have nobody to tell. Okafor, reply to that packet. In what language, sir? Whatever they'll understand. I sent the acknowledge on the Kethara subband, using the Port Authority encoding from the same database entry. 11 words in standard compact notation. Packet received Meridian Clause inbound. Estimated contact 14 minutes. Stand by. I did not identify us further. I did not explain what we were doing in Corridor V7. Those were problems for a different 14 minutes. Drift tender was called the Kethara Reach, a Kethara long-haul survey vessel, mid-sized, built for slow passages through unmapped frontier sectors. We found her sitting stationary in the Amber Star's middle penumbra, which was not where a ship sits voluntarily. She had the profile of a vessel that had stopped because stopping was all she had left. The ruptured pressure cell was visible from 200 meters. A clean blowout on the port secondary housing, the kind of failure that happens when microfracture stress meets a hard deceleration, and nobody catches the crack in time. From the thermal signature, it had gone about 4 hours before the beacon fired. The beacon firing, I understood later, had been Drift Warden Ocelin Varath's third attempt. The first 2 transmissions had used the standard compact emergency band, which required a functioning relay in range. And there was no functioning relay in range, because the nearest compact relay was at 0061 relative, and nobody in the compact's emergency infrastructure had any reason to be watching V7. Rennick brought us alongside in 8 minutes, which was faster than procedure recommended, and which he accomplished by ignoring 2 caution flags and talking to our pilot, Hendricks, in a voice I had not heard him use before. I was still on comms. Through the forward viewport, I could see the Kethara vessel's hull, pale gray with compact drift sector markings, a long, slim body built for endurance rather than speed, and the black-edged rupture in her port housing, like a wound that had stopped bleeding only, because there was nothing left to lose. They hailed us when we were 50 meters out. The translation was rough. Our compact notation was Port Authority functional, not conversational, but it came through clearly enough. Identify. You are not a compact rescue vessel. You are not a compact vessel at all. Identify. Rennick took the comms himself. He spoke slowly for the translator. Survey frigate. Meridian clause. Registry. We received your distress packet. We are here to help. Please confirm crew count and current atmosphere remaining. A pause from the other side that I recognized, even through the static and the translation lag, as a particular kind of silence. It was the silence of someone looking at a thing that should not be there and trying to find a category for it. The answer came back. 11 crew, 6 hours atmosphere remaining, pressure cell compromised, secondary containment holding. We did not transmit to Earth registry. We transmitted to Compact Relay 7 North. How are you receiving our... We can discuss routing later, Rennick said. Request permission to hard dock starboard airlock. We have 2 medics and a fabricator bay, and we would like to start on your pressure cell. Another silence, shorter. Permission granted. I want to be precise about what the Meridian clause was and was not. She was not a rescue vessel. She carried no rescue certification, no hull breach repair qualification, no compact treaty authorization. Her 2 medics, Specialist of Ra Mast and Petty Officer Tanaka, held general emergency certifications, which meant they were trained for human physiology under human emergency protocols, not for Kethara atmospheric requirements or Kethara biology, of which they knew approximately nothing going in. What she had was a fabricator bay with a standard material load, 2 engineers who had been keeping a 30-year-old Cervide frigate running through 17 frontier passages, point defense gun that was useful for exactly nothing in this situation, and a crew of 9 humans who had just been told there were 11 people on the other side of an airlock with 6 hours of air. Engineer Chief Polanski had the pressure cell housing schematics on her tablet. Before we'd finished docking, she pulled them off the Compact Port Authority database, same database entry, still delivering, and spent 4 minutes studying the blowout geometry. She told Rennick what she needed from the fabricator bay, and Rennick told her she had it, and she went to work. The Kethara atmosphere was close enough to human breathable that Mast and Tanaka could work in it with a mild filter mask. A fortunate accident of compact biology that nobody had time to be grateful for in the moment. They went aboard with a portable atmospheric monitor and 2 emergency kit bags and spent the first 20 minutes learning Kethara enough to perform a triage, which they accomplished by pointing at things and watching faces until they had a working picture of who needed what. 3 of the 11 had pressure sickness from the blowout. The fast kind, the kind you get when secondary containment catches the rupture, but not before a pulse of pressure differential moves through the ship. Mast handled them with the focused calm of someone who has decided that the unfamiliar details are irrelevant and the familiar ones, distress, pain, the need to stabilize are enough. Tanaka set up the atmospheric monitor in the reach main corridor and watched it the way you watch something you do not entirely trust, and reported numbers to me over comms every 6 minutes. I relayed to Rennick. Rennick relayed to Polanski. Polanski did not respond because she was inside the pressure cell housing with a fabricator wand, clamps she had rigged from our survey equipment inventory, and she was not interested in conversation. Warden Varath came to the airlock junction at the 40-minute mark. I was there because Rennick had sent me to act as translator. It was a generous description of what I was doing. I had the Port Authority notation on a tablet, and I was using it to construct sentences the way you build a bridge out of whatever lumber is on site. Functional, not elegant, holding weight it was not designed for. Prath's Kethara. 4-limbed, pale-scaled, the drift sector rank markings on her collar indicating a senior officer. She looked at me with the particular expression I have since come to think of, as the wrong recipient realization. The face of someone who has just fully understood that the vessel docked at her airlock should not exist in this corridor, should not be monitoring her emergency frequency, should not have arrived in 14 minutes, and has done all three things regardless. She said something in compact notation that my tablet translated as, "Your routing. Explain your routing." "We were transiting V7, I said, keeping the sentences short for the translator. "Survey passage. Unscheduled. Caught your packet on our legacy array. V7 is not a cleared survey corridor." "No," I said, "it is not." She looked at me for a moment. Then she said, "Your medics. They are working without compact biological clearance." "Yes." "Engineer. Is working on our pressure cell without compact structural certification." "Yes." "You have no treaty authorization for assistance operations in compact frontier space." "Also yes." Varath was quiet. Through the airlock behind her I could hear the sound of the fabricator wand, a low cycling hum that meant Polanski was laying down the second seal layer, which was ahead of the schedule Polanski had set herself, because Polanski did not like the schedule she had set herself and had decided to beat it. The drift warden looked past me down the Cheen Meridian Claws corridor. At the survey equipment racked on the walls, the mismatched repair patches on the hull interior, point defense gun housing, visible through the secondary hatch. The general impression of a vessel that was held together by competence and stubbornness in roughly equal measure, she said. "Why are you here?" It was not quite a question. It was the kind of statement that is shaped like a question because the speaker does not have a better shape available. I thought about how to answer that with port authority notation and a translation lag. I thought about Rennick's 4-second pause on the bridge, thought about the 14-degree arc deviation, the 3-year-old database entry, the 19 days we were cutting off the return leg, the standing bet with the dockmaster at Hareth Station. "We heard you," I said. "We were close, we came." Polanski finished the pressure cell seal at hour 2:40 minutes ahead of her revised schedule. The seal was rated for 6 months of normal operational stress, which she noted in her repair log with the calm specificity of someone who takes professional pride in exceeding a requirement she had no obligation to meet. Mast and Tanaka spent the remaining time transferring supplies. This had not been discussed with Rennick in advance. Mast had simply started pulling items from the emergency kit inventory, and Tanaka had started carrying them through the airlock. And when I mentioned this to Rennick over comms, he said, "Noted," and did not tell them to stop. They transferred 2 weeks of emergency ration packs, human rations, which were probably edible by Kethara biology, though nobody was certain. 1 spare atmospheric recycler unit from our secondary stores, 4 rolls of hull patch composite, portable fabricator cell with a half charge of material, and, because Tanaka had noticed that the medical locker had taken pressure damage in the blowout, the entire contents of our spare medical kit, which left us with our primary kit and the knowledge that we were 11 days from Hareth Station, and had better not need more than that. I compiled the transfer manifest while they worked. It was a plain document, item, quantity, transfer date, receiving vessel, and at the bottom I signed it the way you sign any official document, with name and posting. Lieutenant S. Okafor, Comms Officer, Survey Frigate Meridian Claws, Earth Registry, Transit Corridor V7. I gave a copy to Vareth before we undocked. She held it. She looked at it for a long moment, at the line items, at the signature, at the notations. Transit Corridor V7. She confirmed in writing that we had not been there in any official capacity and had no particular explanation for our presence. She said, "I filed the distress packet to Compact Relay 7 North." "I know," I said. "It did not reach Relay 7 North. 14-degree arc deviation. It reached us instead." She looked at the manifest again. Then she said, carefully, in the measured notation of someone choosing words with precision, "There is no category in compact emergency records for a vessel that was not summoned, that had no authorization, that was not present in a cleared corridor, and that repaired a pressure cell, transferred 2 weeks of rations, 1 recycler, 4 rolls of composite, a fabricator cell, and a complete medical kit, and then left. I imagine that is difficult to file, I said. It is, she said. I will find somewhere to put it. Rennick won his bet with the dockmaster by 11 hours. He did not mention the detour, or the Kethara drift tender, 14-degree arc deviation, or any of it. Neither did I. Neither did anyone on the crew, because none of it not officially happened in a corridor we had not officially been using. 3 weeks later, I received a data packet through standard relay. No sender identification, routed through the compact frontier network in a way that suggested someone had gone to considerable trouble to find our registry address. Inside was a single document, 11 pages, in compact administrative notation. It was Verith's incident report. I am not fluent in compact administrative notation. I used the Port Authority database to work through it over 2 evenings. Most of it was technical. The blowout mechanics, the atmospheric timeline, the medical assessment of the 3 crew members with pressure sickness, all of whom had fully recovered. The final section was the classification attempt. Roth had tried 4 different compact emergency categories and noted, in careful bureaucratic language, why the Meridian Clause did not fit any of them. Too small for a fleet response designation. No treaty basis for a mutual aid classification. No rescue certification for an emergency services entry. No authorization for the corridor. Disqualified the standard survey vessel assistance category. She had created a new field at the bottom of the form. The field was labeled, in compact notation that translated roughly as vessel present without cause, assisted without authorization, departed without record, classification, none established. Below it, in the notes column, she had written 7 words. My translation was approximate, but I am fairly confident I had it right. They heard us, they were close, they came.